Hey everyone, and welcome back to Unique Coins Value. Have you ever been handed your change, glanced at the coins, and wondered, is there a hidden treasure in my palm? Well, today we're diving deep into one of Australia's most common, yet most frequently asked about coins, the 1972 10-cent piece, the is it worth thousands? So, let's settle this once and for all. We're going to explore its history, its design, the mintage numbers, and ultimately, its true circulated value. Stick around because the answer might surprise you. Black and white footage of 1960s Australia, the introduction of decimal currency, shots of the Royal Australian Mint. High-quality 3D renders of the coin spinning slowly on screen. First, a bit of context. Before 1966, Australia used pounds, shillings, and pence. It was a complicated British-based system. The move to decimal currency, dollars and cents, was a massive national change. The new coins needed to be distinctly Australian, moving away from British monarchs on the obverse, while mostly the 10-cent coin, introduced in 1966, featured a stunning design by the renowned Australian sculptor Stuart Devlin. On the reverse, we have one of the most iconic images in Australian numismatics, the male lyrebird. Look at that detail. The intricate tail, feathers, the sense of movement. It's a miniature work of art. The lyrebird is a master mimic, a symbol of the unique Australian bush. And on the obverse, we have a young Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait is classic, elegant, and was used on Australian coin from 1966 all the way up to 1984.so. The 1972 coin is part of this first, historic series of decimal coins. It's a piece of modern Australian history you can hold in your hand. Graphics appear on screen showing a huge number, 25,240,000. The number then shrinks down compared to other years. A chart or graph appears showing mintage numbers for the late 60s and early 70s. Now, here's where the myth comes in. Why is a 1972 10-cent so famous? It all boils down to one word. Mintage. Let's look at the numbers. In 1971, the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra produced a whopping 52.8 million 10-cent coins. A huge number. But in 1972, that number plummeted. Are you ready for it? In 1972, the Mint produced 25.24 million coins. That's less than half of the previous year's output. Whoa, I hear you say. Half the mintage? It must be rare. And compared to 1971, yes, it is relatively scarcer. This lower mintage is the primary engine behind a coin's reputation. When a coin has a lower mintage, collectors take notice and rumors start to fly. And this is a very big, but 25 million coins is still an enormous number. To put it in perspective, in 1980, the mintage was over 80 million. So while 1972 is the lowest mintage year for the first series of 10-cent coins, it's by no means a tiny, undiscovered rarity. Split screen. On the left, a very worn, scratched, and dull 1972 10-cent coin. On the right, a brilliant, uncirculated example with full mint luster. Text below, condition is everything. All right, let's get to the question you've all been waiting for. What is your circulated 1972 10-cent coin actually worth? I'm going to give you the honest, perhaps disappointing, truth first. If you have a 1972 10-cent coin that has been in circulation, meaning it spent decades jangling around in pockets and cash registers, it is worth face value. I know. It's not the million-dollar answer we all dream of. But hear me out. Because of that lower mintage, these coins were saved by people in much greater numbers than, say, the 1971. So while a worn, circulated example is just a 10-cent piece, one that was saved in better condition is a different story. Let's break it down by grade. This coin might be worth a SMA. Changing, but it's more than face value. Now we're getting somewhere. A coin that was saved straight from the mint roll, still bright, but with some contact marks. This could be valued between $5 and $15, depending on its quality. This is the cream of the crop. A coin with full, original mint luster, no significant marks, and sharp striking detail. A gem 1972 10-cent in a holder can fetch $20 to $40 plus at auction.so. The value isn't in the date alone. It's in the date combined with exceptional condition. But wait, before you toss your 1972 10-cent back into the penny jar, there's one more thing you must check for. Errors. The real treasure in any common coin series often lies in the mistakes. For the 1972 10-cent, there are a couple of famous varieties that can be worth a significant amount. First, look for die cracks. These are raised, squiggly lines on the coin's surface, caused by the metal die breaking under pressure. A prominent die crack, especially one that is well documented, can add a nice premium. Second, and more importantly, check the obverse. Look closely at the queen's neck. Is there a small, raised dot or line? This could be a die chip or a cud, a piece of the die that has broken away. Significant errors like this can turn your 10-cent piece into a coin worth $50, $100, or even more to an error specialist.so. Get out a magnifying glass and really study your coin. You're not just looking at the date. You're looking for its unique fingerprint. Post back at the main desk, summing up. A beautiful, uncirculated 1972 10-cent coin is displayed prominently in a capsule, so let's recap. The 1972 Australian 10-cent coin has a fantastic history as part of our first decimal series. Has a lower mintage than its neighbors, which sparked its reputation. In worn, circulated condition, it's worth exactly 10 cents, but in uncirculated or gem condition, it could be worth $5 to $40 plus, and if you're lucky enough to have a dramatic error variety. For countless Australians and coin collectors around the world, that coin is this one right here. The 1981 Australian 50-cent piece. It's a coin surrounded by rumors, whispers of a small fortune hiding in your pocket change. I've heard the stories myself. It's rare. It's worth thousands. You've struck it rich. So today we're diving deep. We're going to separate the fact from the fiction, uncover the real story behind this iconic coin, and finally answer the burning question. What is the true circulated value of the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin? Stick around, because the answer is more fascinating than you might think. First, let's get to know our subject. The Australian 50-cent coin was introduced in 1969, replacing the round 50-cent note. And it's a whopper. It's one of the largest circulating coins in the world, and it's made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. But its most famous feature is its shape. It's not round. It's a dodecagon. That's a fancy word for a 12-sided polygon. This unique shape makes it instantly recognizable. Now, let's look at the design down on the reverse. We have the magnificent Australian coat of arms, featuring the kangaroo and the emu, designed by Stuart Devlin. It's a symbol of a nation, and it hasn't changed on this denomination for decades. And on the obverse, we have the portrait of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. But this is a crucial detail. In 1981, there were two different portraits in use. From 1966 to 1984, the coin featured the second portrait by Arnold Machin. Then, from 1985 onward, it was the third portrait by Raphael Maklauf. So, every single 1981 50-cent coin will have the Machin portrait. Remember that, it's important. Alright, so why all the hype? Why is the 1981 specifically the subject of so many rumors? To understand that, we have to talk about mintage figures. That's the number of coins the Royal Australian Mint actually produced. 1979 asterisk 25.2 million 1980 asterisk 28.4 million 1981 asterisk 21.3 million 1982 1983 asterisk 37.9 million. Look at that. With a mintage of 21.3 million. The 1981 has one of the lowest mintages of any year for the circulating 50-cent coin. Compared to the 39.5 million made the very next year, it's significantly lower. In the world of numismatics, lower mintage often equals higher rarity, which can equal higher value. This is the seed from which the legend grew, but here's the critical piece of context that the rumors often ignore. 21.3 million coins is still a lot of coins. It was more than enough to meet the circulating needs of Australia at the time. So, while it's relatively scarcer than other years, it was by no means a rare coin in absolute terms. Millions and millions of them entered people's pockets and purses. So, let's get down to brass tacks. You found a 1981 50-cent coin in your change. It's been circulated. It has some scratches. Maybe it's lost its luster. The rims might be a bit dinged up. What is it actually worth? For a typical well-circulated 1981 50-cent coin, the value is essentially face value, 50 cents. Now, I can see the disappointment on some of your faces. But wait, don't throw it back in a jar just yet. Because the potential for value lies in the condition that if you have a coin that is an extremely fine EF or about uncirculated EU condition, meaning it has very little wear, most of its original detail is sharp, and it still has some of its mint luster, you might be looking at a value between $2 and $5 to a collector who needs a nice example for their date set. But here's the key takeaway for the average person. The vast majority of 1,981 50-cent coins you find in circulation will fall into the face value category. They were workhorses of the economy for years, and it shows. Now, if we want to talk about real money, we have to leave the realm of circulation entirely. The significant value for the 1981 50 cent is found in coins that were never spent first. We have brilliant uncirculated times with specially polished dies on polished planchets, creating an incredible mirror-like background and frosted, detailed design. They are the pinnacle of minting quality. A 1981 proof 50-cent coin, especially if it's still in its original case and has its certificate of authenticity, can easily be worth $50 to over $100, depending on the grade and market demand. But what if I told you there is one specific version of a 1981 50-cent coin that is incredibly valuable? A coin so rare and sought after that it's the stuff of collectors' dreams. I'm talking about the legendary 1981 mule. A mule in numismatics is a coin that is struck with dies that were not intended to be paired together. In this case, the 1981 50-cent coin was accidentally struck using the obverse, or heads, die from the 1981 20-cent coin. How can you tell? Look at the portrait of the queen. On a standard 50 cent, the designer's initials AM are clear. On the mule, they are missing or heavily distorted. The beading, the dots, around the rim, is also different. It's a subtle error, but a monumental one that only a handful of these 1981 mules are known to exist. They are exceedingly rare, and their value reflects that if you were to find a genuine 1981 mule, you'd be looking at a coin worth anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 or more. Now, before you all run to your coin jars, the chances of finding one are astronomically low. They were almost all caught by the mint. But it's a fascinating piece of trivia that adds to the mystique of the 1981 50 cent. It's a common piece of pocket change that well-preserved, circulated ***, maybe $2 to $5 to the right collector. Brilliant uncirculated, BU $*$10, $20 proof coin $*$50, $100 plus to the 1981 mule. Extremely rare $*$15, 000 plus. The story of the 1981 50-cent coin is a perfect lesson in numismatics. It teaches us that value isn't just about the date on the coin. It's about mintage, condition, variety, and demand. While probable, anyone building a collection of circulating 50-cent pieces. So what do you have? Have you found a 1981 50-cent coin? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have any other coins you'd like me to feature in a future video, drop a suggestion. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content on coins, history, and the hidden stories in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting.